There are 10 dragon tribes in the book series of Wings of Fire, spanning 2 continents, Pantala and Pyria. The first dragon tribe we meet is the MudWings, who are brave and loyal protagonist Clay. Despite being the first tribe shown, MudWings don't receive a lot of love in the fandom, and are often neglected for the bigger and shinier tribes like the Rainwings and Leafwings. Part of this may be the way that the MudWings are presented in the series. So today, I'm going to be going over why MudWings don't work in the series, and how to fix that. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Now, without further ado, let's start the video. Firstly, the MudWings have been neglected within the series. In the main series, the Winglets and the Legends, there's only one book with a MudWing protagonist. Of course, we only have one Hivewing, Leafwing, Skywing, and Rainwing protagonist as well, but 2 of those tribes are newly introduced. And with the other 2, we have seen a lot of their kingdoms. The Rainforest was the home base for the Dragonets of Destiny for the latter half of the first arc. In the second arc, it was visited first when attempting to find Icicle, and later visited alongside Darkstalker when he went to gain the throne. As for the Skywings, the first book took place in the arena, and Peril's book was a return to there as well. Meanwhile, in the Mud Kingdom, we've gotten practically nothing, besides for the final part in the Dragonet Prophecy. There have been 14 books in the main series since then, and there have been countless novellas and super editions as well. You think we would have visited there at least once. Are you telling me that we don't have any MudWing stories worth telling? Like Sora and Umber, 2 fugitives who are relatives to the former Dragonet Destiny Clay? Is their story not interesting enough? That leads me to my next problem. Tui consistently seems to avoid any opportunity to show off the MudWings. Tui has consistently talked about creating a novella showing what happened to Sora and Umber. However, despite that, we have never gotten one. A novella with Sora and Umber would likely be a big hit. They are related to one of the protagonists, Clay, who gets overshadowed by the others. In the books, he is often stereotyped as eating too much and having a big heart, with little of the complexity that we know he has from the Dragonet Prophecy. Having him appear in the book would allow him to have some time to shine on his own, and also draw readers from the main series. He also has had part of his leg burned off. I feel like this is kind of lampshaded in the books, with him being described as having a limp, but nothing beyond that. Fleshing that out would help make Wings of Fire a bit more balanced when it comes to the equation of hero-disabled characters and villainous-disabled characters, as a lot of villains, like Flame, Scarlet, and Chameleon, have disabilities. Adding in a hero would make it a bit less lopsided. Moving on to the possible protagonists themselves, Sora and Umber are also 2 very intriguing characters. I believe Umber was the first confirmed queer character in Wings of Fire, and he seems like the kind of dragon who would wrestle with the guilt he feels being on the run and with what his sister did. Sora is an anxious ball of energy, who feels guilt, but more likely over the collateral in dragging Umber into the situation than trying to kill Icicle. She is someone who has been shown to have shockingly ruthless tendencies, as she didn't let any dragon stand in the path of her righteous fury. The 2 of them are characters who could have brilliant interactions with each other. Perhaps Sora commits another crime and the guilt eats up Umber, as he wonders whether or not to turn his sister in. The guilt that he already feels over his sister's crimes would be a conflict already. That could make the novella interesting. I don't understand why Tui hasn't made a winglet about them yet, though she has constantly been hinting about making one. There are so many possibilities for these characters, so many stories that could be told, just like the rest of the MudWing tribe. Moving on to other examples of MudWings getting blatantly overlooked, we have Bullfrog, who was sent with the stealth team to take down the other mine and save Pantala. Bullfrog is a literal nothing character. We know nothing about him, not even who his sibs are. We don't even know how old he is. Bullfrog feels like an offensive MudWing stereotype to me, which is ridiculous because MudWings aren't even real. Bullfrog pretty much never talks in the book. He mainly speaks in grunts and doesn't get jokes. He's incredibly dumb as well, such as assuming that all scavengers are animals, right after one spoke to him. He is such little of a persona or a presence that one of the characters comments on it, saying that if he had a personality or a passion for anything, it was buried as deeply as a fossil. His character makes no sense either. Why exactly was he chosen for the mission? He's described as stealthy, but there are other MudWings who are probably stealthy. Is he a former assassin, or even a current one? Was he sent to spy on them in some sort of way? Is he related to the Queen? And where are his sibs? The only good thing he does is to find Cricket and hunt for the group. Other than that, he only exists to take up space. I feel as though Tui created him because she realized how many interesting characters she had on the stealth team and didn't want to put too many wild and crazy characters more on because it would be a difficulty for her to keep track of. Because of that, she decided to create a mannequin of a character who just happens to take this form of an insult to MudWings. If she had chosen a more interesting dragon, we could have gotten to know more about the MudWings, instead of being subjected to a literal walking, flying stereotype. After the consistent ignorance of MudWings, even when presented with the opportunity to highlight them, we have the plain and simple fact that, with everything the MudWings do in terms of powers, another tribe does it better. The MudWings can hold their breath underwater for up to an hour, while the Seawings have gills and don't even need to hold their breath. The only time in the series where this could have been useful was the destruction of an island palace, but that was mainly carried out by the Skywings. The MudWings have very hard scales. Every other dragon tribe does as well. Dragon scales for all tribes are consistently being described as diamond hard. The MudWings have fire as well, but so many other tribes do. The Sandwings, the Nightwings, and the Skywings. And those tribes don't need to be warm in order to use their fire. MudWings have a special power similar to Skywings. That is, that blood red eggs hatch dragons who are resistant to fire. However, that isn't really incredible or anything to write home about, and it lacks the all-factor that Flame Scales and Flame Silks have. The only unique thing is the SIB system. I really like the SIB system, and how it's consistently brought up. My favorite example of an unexpected place it popped up is when they caught Chameleon, when he was pretending to be Bog the Mudwing, because he didn't know what SIBs were. However, SIBs alone are not enough to save the entire tribe. The SIBs aren't even a power. It's a difference in how their society is structured, similar to how Rainwings don't have a family structure and instead rely on the entire village to raise dragonettes. We haven't got enough time to explore the SIB situation as well. As I mentioned previously, the MudWings gets pushed to the side severely in the books. There's only one book that takes place in the Mud Kingdom, and it only happens in the final third. Because we are never shown this SIB situation, we never get to see how much it changes their society and how different their society is when compared to other dragon tribes. Without adults to look after younger dragons, how many die in early years? What would happen if a big wings failed to hatch? And countless other complexities that we never get to see. This once again ties back into the issue of having so little time in the books to see them. If we were given more time, we could see all the little things that make MudWings, MudWings, which would help a relatively boring tribe stand out more. Despite all of this, I still really enjoy MudWings. I feel like they are a perfectly good tribe. However, compared to other tribes, we haven't seen a lot of them, even compared to the newer tribes such as the Silkwings, Leafwings, and Hivewings. I feel as though they were given more time to shine in the series, then they would be more loved in the fandom as well. Do you like MudWings? Comment if you do or if you don't down below, and why. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Award Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who've already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.